Good morning, families. Welcome back to the American Family Survival Network. I'm your host, Jeffrey Snipes. Today is September 21st, Wednesday. This article comes to us from Chris Black over at the myfamilysurvivalplan.com, the best 5 bug-out locations in the U.S. In the survivalist parlance of our times, when we're using the term bug-out, we're referring to getting away from danger after a society collapse scenario or a natural man-made disaster. Getting away ASAP from the big bad city if it gets dangerous seems like the right thing to do. Now, if you're a rational human being and you're preparing for the worst, bugging out from your current location implies that you have a place to bug out to in the first place. Also, even if you're living in a small city, rural area, if you are within 100 miles from a highly populated city like New York, for example, it would be a good idea to think about a bug out location for you and your family. Just think about it. If SHTF, there may be myriads of people leaving the big cities and heading to suburban areas, rural communities, and the proximity in no time, on foot or by car. Anyway, regardless of your current location, the fundamentals when picking out a BOL are the same. Also, you must educate yourself in acquiring survival skills along with stockpiling stuff. The Romans had a saying, it goes like this: Omnia mea mecum porto. It means all that's mine I carry with me. This should be the motto of any survivalist. Now, getting back to our business, here are the top 5 bugging out locations in the U.S. The Mid-South, and especially the east of the Mississippi River, is one of the best places to retreat if you're living in the eastern half of the U.S., but you should avoid the New Madrid fault line. It covers areas from Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, and Tennessee. It's one of the biggest earthquake-happy fault zones in the country. The Great Plains is not a bad choice either, especially if you're into agriculture and growing your own food. Again, you should stay away from the New Madrid fault zone and keep an eye out for tornadoes. Think Tornado Alley. Population density in the area is low in most parts, and that's great for a BOL. The Northwest is arguably the best BOL in the United States, being populated by huge numbers of freedom-loving Americans and being blessed with a great number of lakes and rivers, and also with abundant wildlife. Think Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and even eastern Washington. Not urban places. That's a no-brainer. In lots of areas, the population density is low, and you can also grow your own food and livestock. The Southwest is a good choice if you're familiar with the area. The weather is warm, there's a lot of space to bug out to, and also the people are nice and love freedom. The downsides are drought and hence potential water shortage, but overall it's a nice place for peppers. The Mid-Atlantic, think North Carolina and South Carolina. The southern area of D.C. is another good spot if you're planning to build yourself a bug-out retreat. The landscape is beautiful, and the further you go down south, the friendlier people get. Now let's take a minute and look at the fundamentals of bugging out. The location is essential. How far away from your current home is your BOL? How do you get there in a timely fashion in case of a disaster, and how fast and how safe? You don't have to rely on public transportation for that. You got the picture. Rural areas are the best and the safest, especially if you have friends there, you're known in the area. If you've already decided about the location, what kind of shelter do you have in mind? Can you afford to build a house on that property? You'll use a tent? That's a desperate measure. The answer to that question will determine for how long you'll be able to stay there. In the winter, you cannot live in a tent for too long, for example. You can purchase an empty piece of land, that's cheap, in a remote rural area and start building up your thing. Gradually, in time, you will be able to have a BOL in which you could survive indefinitely, as opposed to an improvised one that's only temporary and unsafe. If you can't afford building a second home, you can use instead shipping containers, a trailer home, or an RV. Use your imagination. You must require survival skills living off the land, but not the basics of gardening and hunting. Everybody knows that in theory. I mean the practical stuff that could take years to master, so you should have started already. I mean the practical stuff such as you must know the essentials about your BOL, like if there's wildlife in the area, stockpiles will not last forever. If the soil can be used for agricultural purposes, is it fertile or not? If you have water nearby, if you can have livestock. Water is essential to survival, hence having a clean water source near your BOL is vital. You can store water in a cistern or something similar, but again, it will not last you forever. A good BOL is near a river or other natural water source. Weather is an element to take into consideration when choosing a BOL, as you should plan ahead for hard winters in some areas and for natural disasters, flooding, tornadoes, and others. Protection is a complex thing to take into account. It also means that your BL should be camouflaged properly and well hidden. A good BOL should be inconspicuous, not very easy to find, and easy to defend. The getaway plan is crucial. because the perfect BOL is useless if you can't get there. You should plan ahead and have multiple routes for reaching your BOL, at least 3 safe ones. You should avoid populated areas, obviously. Folks, thank you so much. Please go to the American Family Survival Store for all your family's emergency and survival needs. God bless. Fear not.